Jack Hudson had been in space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The massive alien ships appeared suddenly near Jupiter, their purple lights blinking against the darkness of space. They were shaped like diamonds and seemed to be made of something that looked like crystal. There were 7 of them, each bigger than the largest human spaceship ever built. Jack stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, the flagship of Earth's space fleet. His hands gripped the metal rail as he watched the main screen. The alien ships didn't move. They just waited there, silent and threatening. "Sir, we're getting a signal," said Susan Walsh. She was the communications officer, a woman with short brown hair and steady hands that never seemed to shake, even now. "Put it through," Jack said. His mouth felt dry. The screen changed. Instead of the alien ships, Jack now saw a strange being. It looked almost like a person, but was clearly not human. Its skin was the same purple as its ships and seemed to glow. From within, it had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its face. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move in sync with the words, "People of Earth, we are the Zeraxian Empire. We rule over 200 star systems and thousands of planets. We have watched your world for many years. You have reached a level of development that requires our attention. You will now join our empire. You have 72 of your hours to accept our rule. If you refuse, we will destroy your civilization. There will be no second chance." The screen went back to showing the alien ships. The bridge was completely silent. "Get me Earth Command," Jack finally said. "And wake up Admiral Cole. He needs to see this right away." 6 hours later, Jack stood in a large room under the Rocky Mountains. This was the emergency command center for Earth's defense forces. Around a large table sat the most powerful people on the planet. Leaders from every major nation were either there in person or on screens on the wall. Admiral Ethan Cole, a tall man with gray hair and a face lined from years of difficult decisions, stood at the head of the table. "The Zeraxian ships haven't moved," Admiral Cole said. "Our scans show their weapons are powered down, but their shields are at full strength. We've tried shooting a test missile at them. The missile disappeared before it even got close." "What are our options?" asked President Nicole Johnson. She was usually calm, but today her voice shook slightly. "We can fight or we can surrender," said General Richard Peters. "But I have to be honest. Based on what we've seen of their technology, a fight would be over quickly. They're too far ahead of us. We can't just give up our freedom," said the European Union leader. "What would life under these aliens even look like?" "We don't know," Admiral Cole admitted. "They haven't shared any details about what they want from us." The door opened, and a woman with messy hair and glasses walked in. She was wearing a lab coat with coffee stains on it. This was Dr. Amanda Pierce, the head of Earth's Secret Research Division. "Sorry I'm late," she said. "I came as soon as I heard." Admiral Cole nodded to her. "Dr. Pierce, what can you tell us about these aliens?" Amanda put a small device on the table. It projected a 3D image of one of the alien ships. "The Zeraxians are not unknown to us. We've picked up signals from other civilizations about them. They're conquerors. They find developing worlds, take them over, and use their resources and people. Some they turn into farm worlds. Others become mining colonies. Some are just used for experiments." The room grew even quieter. "So surrender means slavery," President Johnson said. "Most likely," Amanda agreed. "But there might be another option." She changed the image to show a strange device. It looked like a metal sphere with rings spinning around it. "This is Project Prometheus. We've been working on it in secret for 5 years. It's not ready yet, but given the situation, we might need to use it anyway." "What does it do?" asked Admiral Cole. "It creates a controlled reaction in stars," Amanda explained in simple terms. "Basically, it can make a sun send out a focused beam of energy. That energy could destroy planets. You're suggesting we use this on the Zeraxian homeworld?" President Johnson looked shocked. "Not immediately," Amanda said. "But we need to prepare. It is a last resort. If we can't fight them directly, we need a way to hurt them somewhere else. Make them realize that attacking us will cost them too much." Admiral Cole rubbed his face. How long would it take to get these devices ready? A few weeks if we put all our resources into it, Amanda said. We have the basic design. We just need to build enough of them and test the control systems. And how would we deliver them? Asked General Peters. Those alien ships would stop any normal spacecraft we send. We've been working on a new type of engine, Amanda said. It uses some principles we've observed from studying old signals from space. It might let us travel faster than light, or at least create some kind of shortcut through space. We've never tested it with people, but the math looks solid. Jack, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. So while we pretend to negotiate with these Xeraxians, we secretly prepare a weapon that could destroy their worlds. That's a big risk. If they discover what we're doing, they might attack immediately. It's a risk we have to take, Admiral, Cole said. I don't see another way out of this. President Johnson stood up. Her face was serious but determined. We need to buy time. I'll speak to the Xeraxian representative and tell them we need more time to consider their offer. Meanwhile, Dr. Pierce, you have full authority to complete Project Prometheus. General Peters, find volunteers for a mission to deliver these devices. And Commander Hudson, I want you to lead this mission. You're our best space commander. Jack nodded, though his stomach felt tight. This was bigger than any mission he had ever been on. The fate of humanity would rest on their success or failure. As the meeting ended, Jack looked at the image of the alien ships one more time. In just a few days, everything had changed. Humans were no longer alone in the universe. But their first meeting with aliens wasn't the peaceful exchange of knowledge they had hoped for. Instead, it was a threat that could end everything. We won't kneel, Jack said quietly to himself. No matter what happens next, we won't kneel. 3 days after the aliens arrived, Jack Hudson flew to Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. The trip took only 14 hours and the fastest shuttle Earth had. The whole time, Jack looked out the window, watching for any sign of the Xeraxian ships. But they stayed near Jupiter, waiting for Earth's answer. Europa was covered in ice. Underneath that ice was an ocean. And underneath that ocean, hidden from any watching eyes, was humanity's secret base. Earth had built it 5 years ago when they first detected strange signals from deep space. The base was where Earth made its most advanced ships and weapons. Jack's shuttle landed in a hidden hangar cut into the ice. When he stepped out, he was met by a short woman with red hair tied back in a tight bun. This was Lisa Morgan, the chief engineer of the Europa base. Commander Hudson, she said, shaking his hand firmly. I wish you were visiting under better circumstances. So do I, Jack said. Show me what we're working with. Lisa led Jack through metal hallways until they reached a massive open area. It was like a huge cave made of ice but filled with lights, equipment, and people working quickly. In the middle of the cave were 12 ships. They were smaller than the UES Defender, but they looked faster and sleeker. Their hulls were black and seemed to absorb the light around them. These are our stealth ships, Lisa explained. We've been building them for 3 years. They're designed to be nearly invisible to sensors. And now we're adding the new engines Dr. Pierce designed. How many are ready? Jack asked. 4 are fully operational. The other 8 need another week at least. Jack frowned. We might not have a week. President Johnson is talking to the Xeraxians, but they're getting impatient. Lisa nodded grimly. We'll work faster. Come see the Prometheus devices. She led Jack to a sealed room at the back of the cave. Inside, on 12 pedestals, were metal spheres about the size of basketballs. Each had rings around it that spun slowly, giving off a soft blue light. They don't look like weapons that could destroy planets, Jack said. That's because they don't destroy planets directly, said a voice behind them. Jack turned to see Dr. Amanda Pierce walking into the room. She looked tired with dark circles under her eyes. They affect stars. Make them send out a focused burst of energy. That energy is what does the damage. Have you tested them? Jack asked. Amanda shook her head. Not at full power. We can't risk it in our solar system. But the small-scale tests worked exactly as the math predicted. Jack walked around one of the devices, studying it carefully. And the ships? Will they be able to carry these to the Zeraxian worlds? That's where things get tricky, Lisa said. The new engines should work. They create something like a tunnel through space. We call it a wormhole. But they've never been used with people on board. So I'm looking for volunteers to fly untested ships, using untested engines, to deliver untested weapons, Jack said. All to save Earth from aliens who could destroy us with weapons we barely understand. Amanda put her hand on Jack's shoulder. When you put it that way, it sounds impossible. But what choice do we have? Jack nodded slowly. No choice at all. How soon can we start training crews? We have simulators set up, Lisa said. We can begin today. 2 days later, Jack stood in front of 60 men and women in a briefing room on Europa. They were the best pilots, engineers, and soldiers Earth had. All had volunteered after hearing just the basics of the mission. I won't lie to you, Jack said. This mission is dangerous. Some of us, maybe all of us, won't come back. But if we do nothing, Earth will either be destroyed or enslaved by the Zeraxians. He touched a screen, and a map of stars appeared behind him. 12 stars were marked with red dots. These are our targets. Zeraxian homeworlds, including their capital planet, Zerax Prime. Our intelligence comes from signals we've gathered over the last few years. Each ship will carry one Prometheus device to one target. Once there, you'll activate the device near the star, then get as far away as possible before it fires. A young pilot raised her hand. Sir, what about innocent people? On those planets, will they all die? Jack's face was grim. According to our intelligence, the Zeraxians don't share their homeworlds with other species. They keep conquered peoples on colony planets. But yes, millions of Zeraxians will die. It's them or us. The room was silent for a moment. We launch in 3 days, Jack continued. Until then, we train nonstop. Learn everything about your ships, your crews, and your targets. This is the most important mission any human has ever undertaken. We cannot fail. As the meeting ended, Jack was approached by Daniel Baker, a veteran pilot who would command one of the ships. Jack, Daniel said quietly. Are we becoming monsters to fight monsters? Jack looked at his old friend. They had trained together years ago, before Jack was promoted to command the Defender. I've been asking myself the same question, Jack admitted. I don't have a good answer, but I know that if we do nothing, humanity ends. At least this way we have a chance. On Earth, President Johnson stood before the United Nations. Representatives from every country had gathered to hear her response to the Zeraxian ultimatum. The alien representative, a tall purple being, stood silently at the side of the stage. People of Earth, President Johnson said, her voice broadcast to billions of people around the world. For 5 days we have considered the demand of the Zeraxian Empire. They have asked us to surrender our freedom and join their empire as subjects. She paused, looking directly at the alien. Humanity has faced many challenges throughout our history. We have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters. Each time we have emerged stronger. We have built civilizations, created art, explored our world, and begun to reach for the stars. We have done this as free people, making our own choices about our future. The alien remained still, its 4 eyes blinking occasionally. Our answer to the Zeraxian Empire is this. We will not surrender. Earth belongs to humanity. We choose our own path among the stars. A murmur ran through the crowd. The alien stepped forward. You have made your choice, it said, its voice oddly flat. The consequences will begin tomorrow. As the alien left the chamber, President Johnson pressed a hidden button on her podium. Miles away in a secure bunker, Admiral Cole received the signal. He immediately sent a coded message to Europa. Begin Operation Prometheus. Under the ice of Europa, Jack Hudson and his crews boarded their ships. The Prometheus devices were loaded and secured. Engineers made final checks on the experimental wormhole engines. All ships report ready, Lisa said over the communication system. Jack sat in the captain's chair of the lead ship, now named the Defiance. He took a deep breath and pressed the ship-wide communication button. This is Commander Hudson. Today, we fight not just for our lives, but for the right of humanity to exist free in this universe. No matter what happens next, remember that you are the defenders of Earth. Good luck to us all. He nodded to his pilot. Engage wormhole drive. The 12 ships rose silently in the ice cavern. The ceiling opened, revealing the stars above. Then, one by one, the ships seemed to stretch and vanish into points of light. The counterattack had begun. Jack felt like his body was being pulled in every direction at once. The wormhole drive created a tunnel through space, but traveling through that tunnel was not comfortable. His vision blurred, and his stomach turned. Around him, the crew of the Defiance held tightly to their seats, some with their eyes closed. Then suddenly it was over. The ship came out of the wormhole, and normal space appeared on their screens. Jack blinked several times, trying to focus his eyes again. Status. Report, he said, his voice hoarse. All systems functional, said Eric Porter, the ship's engineer. Wormhole drive is cooling down. It will need 6 hours before we can use it again. Where are we? Jack asked. The navigation officer, Mary Wilson, checked her screens. Exactly. Where we should be, sir. We're at the edge of the Xerax Prime system. The planet is about 4 hours away at normal speed. Jack felt a wave of relief. The untested drives had worked. He checked the communication system. One by one, the other 11 ships reported in. All had made it safely to their target systems. Activate stealth systems, Jack ordered. Move us closer to the planet, but keep us hidden. We need to see what we're dealing with. The Defiance moved silently toward Xerax Prime. As they got closer, they could see that it was a beautiful world, with purple oceans and land that looked like it was covered in crystal forests. Around the planet were hundreds of ships, similar to the ones that had appeared at Earth but much smaller. Their home fleet, Jack said quietly. If we're discovered, we won't last long against so many ships. Sir, Mary said, I'm picking up strange energy readings from the planet. It looks like they're preparing something big, maybe a weapon. Jack frowned. They're probably getting ready to attack Earth. We need to move faster. He opened a channel to the other ships. All ships, this is Commander Hudson. Begin your approach to your targets now. We'll synchronize the activation of the Prometheus devices. Estimated time to activation, 5 hours. On Earth, the first Xeraxian attack came at dawn. Their ships fired energy beams that cut through buildings like they were made of paper. Cities around the world were hit at the same time. Millions of people died in the first hour. Earth's defense forces fought back with everything they had. Jets, missiles, and orbital defense platforms all fired at the alien ships, but their weapons couldn't get through the Xeraxian shields. In Doi, the underground command center, Admiral Cole watched the battle on screens that covered the walls. Each screen showed a different city under attack. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all burning. Where is our fleet? President Johnson asked, her face pale with shock. Still in position near Mars, Admiral Cole said. I'm holding them back. If we send them against the Xeraxian ships, we'll lose them all for nothing. So we just watch our world burn? The president asked. Admiral Cole looked at her steadily. We only need to hold out for a few more hours. Then Operation Prometheus. We'll change everything. The Defiance moved carefully into position near the sun of Xerax Prime. The star was larger and hotter than Earth's sun, with a color that leaned toward blue. Jack's ship stayed in the star's shadow, hidden from the planet's sensors. Prometheus devices ready, Eric reported. All systems are green. Jack opened a channel to all 12 ships again. This is it. All ships report readiness. One by one, the ships at the other 11 targets confirmed they were in position and ready. We're about to change the course of history, Jack said to his crew. What we do today will either save humanity or mark us as monsters for all time. But we have no choice. The Xeraxians gave us none. He took a deep breath. Activate Prometheus devices. Countdown from 100 begins now. On each ship, the Prometheus device was moved into position. The spinning rings around each device began to move faster, glowing brighter. Energy built up inside the devices, ready to be released. Meanwhile, On Xyrax Prime, an alert sounded in the main control center. A Xyraxian controller noticed an unusual energy reading coming from near their sun, but before they could investigate further, another alert came in. Similar energy readings were being detected near the suns of 11 other Xyraxian worlds. The Xyraxian leader, a taller and more imposing figure than the others, was immediately informed. It understood the threat instantly. "Recall all ships," it ordered. "All ships everywhere. Return to defend the homeworlds." But it was too late. Activation in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jack counted down. "Activate." All 12 Prometheus devices fired at the same time. They sent invisible beams of energy into the hearts of the stars they orbited. For a few seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then the stars began to change. From the bridge of the Defiance, Jack watched as the blue star of Xyrax Prime began to pulse. Its surface bubbled and twisted. Then a massive flare, bigger than any solar flare ever recorded, erupted from the side facing the planet. The flare was focused, like a beam of pure energy. "Full power to engines," Jack ordered. "Get us out of here now." The Defiance raced away from the star as the solar flare expanded. Behind them, the beam of stellar energy reached Xyrax Prime. It cut through the planet's atmosphere in seconds. The surface began to glow as the incredible heat boiled away the oceans and melted the crystal forests. In the Xyraxian control center, there was panic. The controllers watched in horror as their world began to die. The Xyraxian leader sent a final message to all their forces across the galaxy. "We are betrayed. Avenge us." Then the control center and everything around it turned to ash. Similar scenes played out at 11 other Xyraxian worlds. Their stars, manipulated by the Prometheus devices, sent out deadly flares that scoured the planets clean of all life. Billions of Xyraxians died in minutes. On the Defiance, Jack watched the destruction on his screens. His face was hard, but his eyes showed the weight of what he had just done. "Get me a status report from all ships," he said. 9 ships reported back immediately. 2 more responded a few minutes later, having been delayed by emergency repairs. But the 12th ship, the Valiant, did not respond. "Keep trying to reach them," Jack ordered. Then he opened a channel to Earth. "This is Commander Hudson to Earth Command. Operation Prometheus has been executed. 11 Xyraxian homeworlds, including Xyrax Prime, have been neutralized. We've lost contact with 1 ship. The rest of us are preparing to return." On Earth, the Xyraxian ships suddenly stopped their attack. Their weapons powered down and they began to move away from the planet. Confused messages passed between them, many of which Earth systems could intercept and translate. "The homeworlds are gone. The leadership is dead. What do we do now? Retreat. Regroup. Survive." Admiral Cole watched as the alien ships left Earth orbit and jumped away into space. Then he received Jack's message. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling relief mixed with horror at what they had done. "Tell Commander Hudson and his crews to come home," he said quietly. "They've saved humanity. Now we need to live with what that salvation cost." 2 weeks after Operation Prometheus, Jack stood at the window of the space station orbiting Earth. The station had been damaged in the Xyraxian attack, but repairs were underway. From here, he could see the planet below. Large parts of it were still dark at night where cities had been destroyed. But lights were coming back on day by day as people rebuilt. "Commander Hudson?" a voice said behind him. Jack turned to see a young officer. "The meeting is starting, sir. They're waiting for you." Jack nodded and followed the officer through the station to a large conference room. Inside were Admiral Cole, President Johnson, and representatives from nations around the world. Also present were the captains of the other 10 ships that had returned from Operation Prometheus. They all looked tired with shadows under their eyes. "Commander Hudson, please join us," President Johnson said. Jack took his seat at the table. The president stood up to address the room. 2 weeks ago, humanity faced extinction. The Xyraxian Empire attacked our world with weapons far beyond our own. Millions of our people died. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. Then Operation Prometheus changed everything. The Xeraxians retreated. Their empire is in chaos. We have reports from our long-range sensors that their forces are fighting among themselves. She looked around the table. What you did saved humanity, but it also destroyed billions of lives. We need to decide what happens next. Admiral Cole spoke up. The Xeraxian threat isn't completely gone. They still have ships and colonies. But without their homeworlds and central leadership, they're disorganized. We've picked up transmissions suggesting that many of their subject worlds have rebelled. The Empire is falling apart. What about the Valiant? Jack asked. Any word from them? Admiral Cole shook his head. Nothing. We have to assume they were lost. Jack closed his eyes briefly. The Valiant had been commanded by Daniel Baker, his friend. The thought of losing him and his crew weighed heavily on Jack's mind. We have another issue to discuss, President Johnson said. We've received a transmission. It's from a group calling themselves the Free Worlds Alliance. They claim to be former subjects of the Xeraxian Empire who have taken control of their own planets. They want to talk. This news caused a stir around the table. Jack leaned forward. They want to talk to us, why? They know what we did, Admiral Cole said. They've seen what the Prometheus devices can do. Some of them are afraid we'll use the same weapons on them. Others want to thank us for freeing them from Xeraxian rule. And some, President Johnson added, want to form an alliance with us. They believe that together, we can ensure that no empire like the Xeraxians can rise again. The room was quiet as everyone considered this. Do we trust them? Asked one of the ship captains. We don't know enough about them yet, Admiral Cole admitted. But they're sending representatives. They'll be here in 3 days. Jack thought about the implications. Humanity had just discovered they weren't alone in the universe, fought a war for survival, and committed an act that some might call genocide. Now they were being asked to join an alliance with alien species they knew nothing about. What about the Prometheus devices? Jack asked. The ones that weren't used in the operation? Dr. Amanda Pierce, who had been sitting quietly at the end of the table, spoke up. They're secure, but we've learned so much from them. The technology could be adapted for peaceful purposes. Energy production, space travel, even terraforming. Or it could be used to destroy more worlds, Jack said. That's true, Amanda acknowledged. It's a power that could easily be misused. President Johnson looked at each person around the table. We need to decide who we want to be now. The species that turned planets to ash or something better. The meeting continued for hours. They discussed how to rebuild Earth, how to prepare for meeting the Free Worlds Alliance, and what to do with the knowledge they had gained. No easy answers came, but they began to form a plan. 3 days later, Jack stood in a different room, on the space station. This one had been specially prepared for the arrival of the alien representatives. The room was large, with a circular table in the center. Earth's leaders were seated on one side, looking nervous but determined. A light flashed, indicating that a ship was docking with the station. Minutes later, the door opened and the aliens entered. There were 5 of them, each from a different species. One looked almost human, but with skin that shifted colors like a chameleon. Another was short and stocky, with 4 arms and skin like tree bark. The third floated above the ground, a cloud-like being with small lights flickering inside it. The fourth moved on 6 legs, its body covered in what looked like metal plates. The fifth was tall and thin, with large eyes that took up most of its face. The human-like alien stepped forward. I am Kira, of the world Neelis. We speak for the Free Worlds Alliance. Its voice was musical, with an accent Jack couldn't place. President Johnson stood. I am Nicole Johnson, President of the United States of Earth. We welcome you to our world. Kira looked around the room, its eyes stopping on Jack. You command the ships that destroyed the Xeraxian homeworlds. It wasn't a question. Jack nodded. I led the mission. Many of us celebrated when we learned what had happened, Kira said. The Xeraxians took our world centuries ago. They treated us as tools, not people. But others among us fear that you might be just like them. A species willing to destroy entire worlds to get what it wants. President Johnson spoke carefully. We did what we had to do to survive. But we take no joy in the deaths we caused. We hope never to use such weapons again. The cloud-like alien moved forward, lights pulsing inside it. A mechanical voice came from a device it carried. Hope is not enough. The power you have demonstrated must be controlled, or all worlds will live in fear of Earth. That's why we're here, the tree-like alien added. To find a way forward together. To ensure peace. Jack looked at these beings from other worlds. They had been slaves of the Xeraxians, and now they were free. Because of what humans had done, because of the terrible choice he and his crews had made. We want peace too, Jack said. But trust has to be earned, on both sides. Kira nodded. Yes, that is where we begin. With small steps toward trust. As the formal talks began, Jack found himself thinking about the future. Humanity had saved itself, but at a cost that would forever change how they saw themselves. Now they had to decide what kind of species they wanted to be in a universe filled with other intelligent life. A universe where humans were known as the species that refused to kneel, even if it meant turning planets to ash. 6 months passed since the first meeting with the Free Worlds Alliance. Earth was healing. Cities were being rebuilt. The dead were mourned. And humanity was learning to live in a universe filled with other intelligent beings. Jack walked through the new United Species Center in Geneva. The building had been constructed in just 4 months, with help from alien technology. It was a symbol of the new partnership forming between Earth and the former subjects of the Xeraxian Empire. Today was an important day. Representatives from 27 alien worlds were gathering to sign the Stellar Peace Accord. Jack, now Admiral Hudson after his promotion, was there to represent Earth's defense forces. As he entered the main hall, he saw beings of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human. Others were so different that it was hard to believe they could think and feel as humans did. Yet all had suffered under Xeraxian rule, and all wanted to build something better. Jack's attention was caught by a commotion near the entrance. He turned to see a group of humans and aliens gathered around someone who had just arrived. As the crowd parted, Jack froze in surprise. It was Daniel Baker, captain of the Valiant, the ship that had gone missing during Operation Prometheus. He looked thin and tired, but very much alive. Next to him stood an alien Jack had never seen before. It had pale blue skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on its face. Jack pushed through the crowd. Daniel, is that really you? Daniel turned, and a smile spread across his tired face. Jack, they told me you'd be here. The two men embraced. Jack had given up hope of ever seeing his friend again. What happened? We thought the Valiant was destroyed, Jack said. Daniel nodded to the blue alien beside him. We would have been, if not for the Arvani. This is Solara. Her people saved us. The blue alien made a gesture that looked like a bow. The ship of Captain Baker was damaged during your operation. We found them drifting near our system. Jack looked at the alien with new interest. I don't remember the Arvani from our briefings on the Xeraxian Empire. Because we were never part of it, Solara said. We hid from them. Our world is surrounded by a dust cloud that interferes with sensors. The Xeraxians never found us. But we observed them. We watched what they did to other worlds. And you watched what we did to them, Jack said quietly. Solara's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Yes, a terrible thing. But perhaps a necessary one. Daniel put his hand on Jack's shoulder. The Arvani repaired our ship and helped us get home. But that's not all. Tell him, Solara. The alien seemed to hesitate. We have been watching the stars for a long time. The Xeraxians were not the only empire out there. There are others, some perhaps worse. Your Prometheus technology frightens us, but it might also be needed someday. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying there are other threats out there? Not immediate ones, Solara clarified. But the universe is very old and very large. It would be foolish to think the Xeraxians were the only danger you will ever face. Before Jack could respond, The ceremony was called to order. Everyone took their seats. President Johnson and the leaders of the Free Worlds Alliance stood at the center of the room ready to sign the accord. "Today marks a new beginning," President Johnson said. "6 months ago, we didn't know we shared the universe with other intelligent life. Then we faced extinction at the hands of the Xeraxian Empire. In our desperation, we took actions that will forever mark our history. We destroyed worlds to save our own." The room was silent. Every being there knew what humans had done. "We cannot undo that choice," the president continued, "but we can learn from it. The Stellar Peace Accord is our promise to all species that humanity will never again use the Prometheus technology as a weapon, except in the defense of all our worlds against extinction." Kira, the leader of the Free Worlds Alliance, stepped forward. "And we promise that no world, no species will ever stand alone against tyranny again. What the Xeraxians did to my people, to all our peoples, will not happen again. What humans did to survive will not need to be repeated. We will stand together." The signing began. Each leader placed their mark on the document, using whatever method was natural to their species. Some used ink, others used light or sound or even scent marks that their species could detect. After the ceremony, Jack spoke with Daniel and Solara again. "The Valiant will be ready to fly again soon," Daniel said. "The Arvani made some improvements to it. Faster engines, better shields. Will you go back to space?" Jack asked. Daniel nodded. "Yes, but not alone. Solara and some of her people are coming with us. We're going to explore together." Jack smiled. "The first joint human-alien crew. That's quite an honor. What about you?" Daniel asked. "What will Admiral Hudson do now that the war is over?" Jack looked around the room at all the different species talking, sharing ideas and building connections. "I'm going to make sure we never need to use the Prometheus devices again. But I'm also going to make sure we're ready if something worse than the Xeraxians comes our way." Solara made a gesture that Jack had learned meant approval. "A wise approach. Prepare for the worst, but work for the best." Later that day, Jack stood on a balcony overlooking Lake Geneva. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Next to him stood Dr. Amanda Pierce, who had been working with alien scientists to adapt the Prometheus technology for peaceful uses. "We're testing a new version next week," Amanda said. "It can redirect just a tiny portion of a star's energy, enough to power an entire planet without damaging the star at all. From a weapon of mass destruction to the greatest power source ever invented," Jack said. "That's quite a change," Amanda nodded. "That's who we want to be now. Builders, not destroyers." "Do you ever think about what we did?" Jack asked quietly. "All those lives. Every day," Amanda admitted. "I think we all do. It will always be with us." In the distance, a ship rose from the spaceport heading for the stars. It was the Valiant, restored and improved, carrying humans and Arvani on the first joint mission of exploration. Jack watched it until it was just a point of light among many in the darkening sky. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and survived, but at a terrible cost. They had refused to kneel to an empire and instead had turned their planets to ash. Now they had to live with that choice and make sure it led to something better than what came before. The universe would remember what humans were capable of when threatened, but it would also see what they could build from the ashes of war. New beginning, a second chance, and a promise to be better than they had been before.